Okay, another day, another FPL pod. Jack, how you doing?
Joshua, very well, thank you. Very well. Just chilling. Got a bit of a bad back, so been nursing that, but cannot complain. Otherwise, how are you?
Yeah, good. Stay on that sofa, please. Doctor's orders. You're not allowed to
Yeah,
move from that.
yeah,
But
will
I'm
do.
well. Just got back from five-a-side, so been playing footy. Now ready to talk
Jealous.
footy. Let's go.
Very jealous. Good, good. Great. So what's on the agenda, man?
We've got our standard playlist now of things to cover. So we're going to look at obviously the previous game week, how we got on, things we got right, wrong. Then we're going to look at XG and XA, top performers. Then we've got some key questions, which you've drawn up this week. Looking forward to that. The big fixtures and, the ones that are affecting the key assets for this week. We're going to take a look at those as well before looking at our plans for the next game week, captaincy and transfers as well. And just a quick peek at the algo teams as well. See how those boys got on.
I love it, man. I love it. The traditional setup. Back to tradition after that quick fire one last week. That was good fun, but I'm glad to be back on the old nice meaty schedule.
Missed this, I missed it.
I've missed it, Josh. Let's crack on. So we should say, recording on the Monday, the Arsenal-Everton game's about to kick off, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So some interesting stuff in that. So Aubameyang bench and no Smith Rowe involved. So
big news.
Yeah, that's quite good for me as I have no assets left at all to play. So I'm quite pleased. Have you got anybody left?
I've got Ramsdale, and
decent.
Before we get into our points at all, a lot of my game week success is relying on Ramsdale getting a lot of points this week.
Not a great place to be, is it that? Not a great place to be. Okay, well, with that teaser, Josh, how are you getting on?
Terribly, Jack. Terribly.
Oh, Joshy boy.
Not a lot went right this week. I'm on 38 points. Quite a big red arrow taking me down currently to, just over 400,000 overall. So dropped, more than 100,000 places overall, which is not great. Biggest mistake I think I've made with the transfers. I bought Reguilon in, and as we all know, that didn't go very well. So I bought him in for Mitchell, thinking they had great fixtures coming up, and he's looked good so far in some recent game weeks under Conte. So, but bit of luck going against me there with his yellow card and early injury.
So unlucky.
And then a lot of Ben Davis coming in with the points afterwards. So they should have been Reguilon's points.
He stole them.
He did. So yeah, that was the kind of big disappointment for me, but disappointments elsewhere as well. The lack of a City clean again. So Cancelo and Diaz coming in with the 2 points. Jota not doing anything. Salah only getting the assist. Captained, so that's going up to 12 points. Gallagher blanked. Rafinha, love him. Going home with the 5 points, just keep me ticking over. Vardy blank, didn't start, the old man. And then Trent obviously coming in with 9. So overall not the best. But
yeah,
cheer us up, please. Cheer me up, Jack. How are you getting on?
Well, will it cheer you up, Josh? Because when you say cheer me up, I don't know if you mean tell you I've done well or tell you I've done bad. What cheers you up more?
I'll tell you afterwards.
Well, Josh, my back may have seized up, but my FPL team certainly haven't, and they're finally loosening up and getting the points for me. So I'm all out, so no players to play. I'm on 56 all out, which lovely. I'm pretty pleased with, really, in a week like this. Yeah, I mean, I've sort of averaged around that each week, whether it's been a high-scoring week or a low-scoring week so far. So, and I sort of tell myself 55 and above for the season ends you on a pretty high score anyway. So I'm pleased. And yeah, in a week where a lot of people have struggled, that usually do quite well, such as yourself, I'm quite pleased, really. Yeah, it's a week, isn't it, where there are very few select big hauls. And so if you don't own a couple of those players that have hauled, that's the difference. So the one I own is Bernardo Silva, who I brought in this week. Really pleased. So it was between him and Mason Mount to come in. So obviously Mount got that goal and assist before Bernardo Silva played, so I was cursing myself. But then Bernie delivered me the goods, man. So yeah, really pleased. I did Mane for Jota. That was a like for like 3 points each, but obviously a big price saving with Mane. And then Mbeumo, who bless him, got his assist. Good for you, Mbeumo. I don't care though, because I got Bernardo's 15 points instead of his 5. So yeah, really pleased. And yeah, those are about the only successes though. Like you had Rafinha, thanks to the assist, Salah captaincy 12 points, and Trent. And everyone else blanked except Bernardo, who's propping up my team big time, really. So yeah, another green arrow, really good. Finally broke into the top million, which I'm really pleased with. I'm going to see if that holds. I'm on that live rank checker now, so I'm just seeing if I'm a 9-8 to ESR being out of the squad has dropped me 20k places already. So that's from people's subs coming in for the Smith Rowe. So I'm just praying and praying I can hold on to that within the top million while this Arsenal game goes on. I've got a feeling if Ramsdale keeps it clean, that might nudge me out, but we'll see what happens.
But overall, like you said, got to be happy with that transfer for this week, and points for this week. Got to be happy with that as well.
No doubt about it, man. You always hear it's always just a psychological thing, isn't it? When you don't have a player playing in the last game, you're just sort of like, this sucks. But if this game had been at the start of the week, it's a different. If Bernardo Silva got his haul tonight, I'd feel completely different. So, yeah, that's just the psychology of the game for you.
Right. Well, yeah, that's both of us. Hopefully, well, and I was about to say hopefully it goes well for you tonight, but I don't want it to because I want Ramsdale to get as many points as possible. So
we'll keep tabs live on air. We'll keep tabs on what's going on in that game, so you hear some live reactions. But yeah, I mean, it's Everton, so you'd hope as a Ramsdale owner something happened, wouldn't you, for him?
Ideally, like a hat trick for Ramsdale would be great.
Well, a bit disappointed if he doesn't get something, Rambo.
Exactly.
Everton are awful. Yeah, but cool.
So let's move past how we got on. Let's now move on to the next segment, Jack. XG and XA. We can get into the meat of our plans for the future. I know this game week hasn't ended, but we like looking to we like looking forward, don't we?
Really? Sure.
So XG, we always start with XG. Let's not move away from that now. But third spot for XG, last 5 game weeks, Aubameyang, 2.72. 0 actual goals, 0 actual assists.
Yeah, which is probably why he was benched tonight, wasn't it? But it's interesting that he is in. Obviously, these are for the last 4 game weeks. These stats. No, sorry, 5 game weeks. It's 5 game weeks, including this. So Aubameyang has played 4 of those games and is still in third spot for XG. So he's been getting those chances, but just been completely awful. Been the most frustrating player to own if you own him, because they're giving it to him on a plate. They're creating Arsenal, aren't they? But they're not. He's not delivering it. Just that one that he just hit onto the post from like a yard out really sticks out to me. But he's been pretty disappointing generally, I think. So he's in a void, isn't he? Despite being the third most quote unquote on form player when it comes to what he could produce in the goal department, I think he's in a void. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we know that these stats are trying to give us a hint. Like they're only one pillar of the part of all the decisions we're going to make, aren't they? And in this case, it is a bit of a red herring. That's all from what we've seen. Great to see him getting the opportunities, but there's nothing else. There's absolutely nothing else to tell us that he should be picked. So, and the goals are coming from elsewhere in the Arsenal team. So cheaper assets for sure. The Martinellis of the world look great, but then their minutes are not going to be.
I wouldn't get him in. But you're right. Yeah.
Not at all. I mean, what I'm saying is, other people are stepping up in the Arsenal team with the goals, and that's to Aubameyang's detriment.
Totally, man. Yeah, let's move. I mean, just don't buy Aubameyang if you're thinking about it, because I know people are probably looking for strikers now, but he's not one to get, I would say.
No, sorry, Bob.
So who's in number 2, Josh, for the XG?
Big name. His numbers have dropped a little bit in recent weeks, but still Mohamed Salah. So an XG of 3.19 over the last 5 game weeks. 3 goals, 3 assists. Not as crazy numbers as he's had in some of our other XG kind of overviews, but still incredible.
Yeah, still great. And he's he scores goals that have low XGs that good, doesn't he? The two against Everton were just such good finishes. Like the angle, the power and the angle are 10 out of 10 with all his shots, aren't they? They're just side netting every time. But everyone who's listened to this no doubt has Salah. I'm comfortable capturing him, even though only an assist this game week feels like a disappointment from him. I mean, that just shows how good he is. If a return is disappointing, doesn't it?
And we're spoiled. We've covered this before, haven't we? I think you look at the breakdown of his points for this year, not just total, but the spread of them. He's so consistent. We're just spoiled this year to have him, I think. There's been years where other players have had, quite high points for the season at that whatever point it was, but they've had, double point returns for certain game weeks and then blank for others. Whereas he's just been so consistent. It's so nice to just set him as captain and have this level of confidence that you're going to get something.
Yeah, it's great. And with the captaincy thing, I'd say it's not like there are other premiums that are hauling that are going to tempt you away. Kane, Ronaldo, Lukaku, Mane, Bruno, they all blanked, didn't they, as well this week? So Salah actually still outperformed him, even with just one assist. So yeah, keep it on him and keep riding the gravy train until AFCON.
It's a disappointing world outside of the Salah.
It's bleak world. It's a bleak world out there, Josh. It's bleak. It's grim. Just stay in the warmth of the sunny Salah.
The Egyptian sun, just love it.
Yeah, bask in the heat, bask in the glow of his FPL returns. But I didn't mention this next guy, Josh, at number 1. Maybe he is a captaincy shout.
Yep, Diogo Jota. Jota. I mean, you've mentioned him already. You've switched from Mane to Diogo. Great
move. I'm happy I did it.
4.47 XG.
Outrageous XG, really.
Madness. Crazy. 4 actual goals, 0 assists, but he's that goal scorer. I mean, the one criticism you'd say this week and maybe in some recent weeks is, despite being renowned for that being a clinical finisher, he's missed some chances, right?
Oh my God, the Wolves game, Josh. That one where he beat the keeper and there was just 2 defenders in the middle of the goal on the line. He just smacked it at him. What was he doing? What was he doing there? I mean, that's the difference between him and a Salah, isn't it? That's why he's 7.5 and Salah's 13 mil, because Salah just buries every time.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you would have confidence in his finishing. You'd say is on a par sometimes with Salah. When you get him in the positions, like Salah's normally the one that can make a chance out of nowhere. But when you get him to the point of shooting, like Jota's normally as good as him. But
yeah, the goal he scored the week before, so the midweek goal he scored was lovely, wasn't it? Against Everton. Was it Everton? Where he sort of narrow angle and he just hit it, lovely turn, straight up into the roof of the net, brilliant. But the Wolves ones, jeez. And he has done it before where he has missed some sitters, whereas you wouldn't say that's the case with Salah. I mean, would you consider captaining him at all over Salah?
No, just because of all the reasons that we mentioned a second ago. Salah's been so consistent, and I don't feel the need to try and find a differential for those reasons. I just don't think it's needed. If you're in a position where you're trying to gain rank, or trying to get something else from your mini league, then by all means consider it. But I just still think it's so safe to go with Salah.
Well, it's not. I think it's not only safe; it's sensible. It's a seatbelt of a pick, isn't it? So yes, seatbelts are boring and safe, but they're also saving you from danger, aren't they? And that's what Salah captaincy is doing. Because if you went with Kane this week, or if you'd done it a week where Salah got 2 against a United or an Everton, then you're in a lot of danger. So yeah, Jota, brilliant. I think Jota's essential in your team for his price and his ability, but the captaincy essential player is Salah, isn't it?
Yeah, and I guess as a person who's made that switch now, are you happy owning Jota over Mane?
Yeah, I feel great. I haven't even thought about Mane. The beauty of that move and moves like that are, even if Mane scores, it's not like, because he's so low owned, it's not like, oh, I missed out on all those points that loads of the people are getting. Whereas when Jota was scoring and I had Mane, it was, oh, I could have had Jota. Oh, and other people are getting points. It's like a double blow. Whereas, and yeah, I just feel great. Money in the bank, could afford Bernardo Silva. It's a good feeling. You've done the right transfer when you just don't even think about the play. You just got out again, do you? It's like an affirming feeling you get.
Hey, you look happy. I can tell. You look happier.
I feel, despite the back problems, I'm happy. I'm content in an FPL realm. Yeah, good. Anyway, let's move on to the XA, Josh. We dragged that out, that XG. So the top 3 players for XA expected assists over the last 5 game weeks. We've got a new appearance, Josh, in number 3, an old favourite. Maybe you're surprised he hasn't been in yet, but it's our boy Andrew Robertson, 2.14.
Yeah, I mean, proving or putting his hat back in the ring after all the Simicast chat earlier on in the season, and reminding us that he is a threat as well. Obviously, we talk about Trent all the time, but Robertson in recent years has, he's been competing with him. He still is a threat. I mean, 3 assists in the last 5 is amazing from a defender, but those Liverpool spots are precious. So for me, I cannot confidently say to people, take Robertson over Trent, because you're only going to probably want one of those defensive spots.
Yeah, or a Jota. You want Jota over Robbo, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Salah, Jota, Trent trifecta for me.
If you're playing the crazy differential game, you can do a lot worse than Robertson, for sure. But I just don't see a world where, like you say, Robbo's going to outscore Trent.
Exactly like that, really. I mean, the 3 assists have proven that there is a way of playing the game with Robertson in there. But at what cost? Like, who do you not have? Because we've already mentioned Salah, we've already mentioned Jota, and we know how good Trent is. So
yeah, I mean, maybe there's a case when AFCON comes along, if Firmino is still out, for instance, that, well, even if Firmino's back, the debate between a Firmino and a Robertson for that 3rd slot will be an interesting one, I think. Because I don't think Firmino, even when he's nailed, offers the same value as the midfielders. And Robbo's a lot cheaper. He'll definitely be playing with Trent. You've probably got Jota still. Mane and Salah are gone. That'll be an interesting one, which way people go there, I think.
Yeah, the great thing about that is we've got quite a few game weeks still to just just gather information between now and then, really, haven't we? So, but I like how far you're thinking ahead. I like it.
And when they both retire, who's going to come into the front?
Yeah, exactly. Simicast in.
Well, Simic. Yeah, I mean, do you think that there was a bit of noise about, because of how well Simicast played? Do you think that's kind of kicked Robbo on a bit? Do you think it's sort of he seems like that kind of feisty guy that kind of defies, likes a challenge and gets fired up, doesn't he?
Yeah, he seems to thrive under pressure. Like one of those players that plays better when the back's against the wall.
Yeah.
And he is a leader. But I think Klopp's comments, earlier in the season when people were saying Simicast just come off this good run, Robertson coming back, and Klopp made it quite clear in no uncertain terms that Robbo's number 1 spot. So,
he's earned it, hasn't he?
Yeah, you shouldn't have any doubts. The only reason Robertson's going to be dropped for Simicast is injury concerns or lack of fitness. That's it. And he is a beast. So as long as he keeps injury free, it's his spot.
Yeah, cool, fair. So that's Robbo. Number 2 spot, I think it's another new entry for us, Josh, a fan favourite. Impressive results here because he's only played 228 of the possible 450 minutes, but he's got an XA of 2.39, and that's Phil Foden, Joshy boy. What do you make of Phil's performances?
Big fan of Phil as a player. I think he's amazing, technically incredible. But for me, you've already said the biggest concern. Minutes, 228. I know he kind of had those injury concerns recently, or he was out of the team for a little bit. But whether it's injury or whether it's just pep rotation, there's always going to be concerns, and you don't want to be backing more than one kind of City attack or midfield asset. And I think the best one is the one that you've got at the moment, Bernardo. And I know we were like saying various comments on him in recent weeks, like maybe not worth backing him, whatever. But he is in a purple patch at the moment. He's in the form of his life, and that's when you back a player. It will obviously drop off, I believe, at some point in the season.
Who Foden are you talking about? Sorry, or
Bernardo, sorry.
Yeah.
So I think like for all those Foden looks great and these stats are great there, you're only going to pick one kind of midfielder or attacking player, and it's Bernardo at the moment for City, that is. So I'd take Bernardo over Foden. I wouldn't take two for sure because that's just such a high risk. But I mean, you've got Bernardo. Let me pitch it to you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't, obviously, I'm going to probably put words in your mouth saying you'll never replace him with Foden, but would you pick Foden alongside him?
Yeah, it's a debate I'm kind of having really, because I think looking at his history this season, when he's been fit, he's started pretty much. So he wasn't fit at the start of the season until game week 5. It looks like he came on for 80 minutes in game week 5, then game week 6 until game week 12, he played until that injury. He's missed the last 2, and now he's back again and he started again. So it's tricky. It's tricky. If I was gonna pick another City mid, it would be Foden above, say, a Grealish or a Sterling or De Bruyne, because I think he does have the skills to pay the bills. But yeah, it's tricky. I think maybe wait and see if that consistent starting pattern happens now he's fit over the Christmas period.
And with all those other City assets back now and fit,
yeah,
supposedly.
Grealish back. Yeah, I mean they've got Champions League, haven't they, this week? He has travelled. I think Bernardo and Cancelo haven't travelled, so that's a great sign for an owner of both of them, which I am. But yeah, and I think Pep has said today, he's essentially said that this game tomorrow night is a training game. He literally said this is a training game for us, so we're going to try new players and different things for fitness. So you can pretty much, that kind of to me says whoever starts this Champions League game probably won't be starting in the Prem at the weekend. So yeah, Foden, he's definitely on the watch list for me, because at 8 million, I think he's 8.1. I don't think that's not crazy money. It's maybe a bit more than I'd be willing to pay for a rotation risk, but yeah, so I'm going to wait and see.
Yeah, and in the absence of a lot of the premiums firing, should be a lot of cash floating around.
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. If you're a Kane seller this week, like many are, Foden's probably catching your eye a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, number 1 on the XA, the undisputed king, Josh, of assists is Trent Alexander-Arnold. 1 goal, 4 assists, XA of 2.91. Essential.
Yeah. I'm kind of mentioning him when we talk about Robertson. For me, essential, the number 1 defender on your team sheet at the moment. Still, that may change in the future, but at the moment, still number 1. Same for you?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but he's the only big at the back, full-back option that became so popular a few weeks ago that's really been delivering over the last few weeks. So yeah, he's phenomenal, isn't he? And do you think there's any truth to the rumor that he might play further forward when AFCON comes around?
I've no idea. I haven't seen anything. I mean, I guess what I would say is I don't think anyone knows, because there's been nothing in training, nothing in matches to lead us to the fact that they've even trialed it as a system at Liverpool. So, and there's nothing to say that they think he could do that or they would want to do that with him. So I would be very surprised if they just suddenly out of the blue go, now we're going to play him in right mid. Yeah, I'd be shocked if that was happening. Maybe they trial it over the next few game weeks leading up to AFCON, and then we can change our mind. But at the moment, I'd be shocked if that was the case.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's very exciting if it does happen. Very, very exciting. But
be incredible. But he will get less time. He'll be playing, with his back to the goal a lot more. And you could say a lot of his
Maybe.
threat is because he has that extra time coming onto the ball into the final third.
Yeah,
So
whipping those fast balls in. Yeah, maybe. Maybe so, man. Time will tell. Okay. That is the XG and XA. Tiny break, Josh. And
tiny
then bounce
break
back
and
in.
then back with those questions.
Good days.
Lovely. Right. See you in a sec. And we're back, Jack. So you have some questions for me, I believe. You prepared
I
our
do.
8 key questions for this week. I'll kick it to you.
Thank you very much, Josh. Yep, prepared these for you. The usual big 8 that we have ahead of the coming game week. So, number 1, Joshy boy, we've touched on it, is big at the back now over? As quick as it began, it seems to have, the wheels have fallen off a little bit. What do you reckon?
I think like the season ebbs and flows with different results, sets of results, doesn't it? So, Liverpool still had that clean sheet against Wolves, for example. But yeah, recently we have seen a drying up of the big teams. And I'm talking about the teams that statistically have shown us to have they could be getting a lot of clean sheets. So the Chelseas, the Cities, the Liverpools have not been kind of delivering those clean sheet points. But what I would say is the assets themselves are still so good as defenders. They're so attacking. So, Trent, Cancelo, Reece James, Alonso, if you're on him, in replacement of Chile, they're still so attacking that they're basically midfielders. So I would still back them, even at the risk of not getting great cleans. And I'd still be happy to own 3, potentially 4 of them.
Cool. So I guess, yeah, putting it another way, if you were wild carding now, would you bring in 3 of those 4 still?
I'd go 3 and probably jump off of the central defenders, so like the DSs of the world.
Yeah.
He, great to get a goal from him the other week, because as a DS owner, that was really helpful. But
great goal.
Statistically, I'm not going to bank on him doing that, once in 3, once in 5, once in 10 game weeks. So
yeah.
Whereas, Reece James, Cancelo,
gift.
and Trent are really getting in that final third and taking shots and making assists. So
cool.
But what do you think? Are you still happy with those kind of premium defenders, over 6 mil guys?
I think I am, but purely because there's value to be had elsewhere rather than they're great in themselves. We don't really have many attacking premiums firing now. So it's an easy decision, really, isn't it? Say you're wildcarding now, you've got the money to get them in, so why not get them in? I think if Kane or Ronaldo or Lukaku or Bruno or De Bruyne or whoever was firing alongside Salah, I think their recent performances, particularly Chelsea, would have me concerned about the big at the back. I think, but because we're flush with cash in essence and we can afford them, then yeah, you're probably still right going with them. But yeah, I'd be disappointed, especially in Reece James. If you're Reece James, and I'll feel very lucky that because I wasn't able to get him 3 weeks ago, even though I really would have wanted him. I feel really lucky that his returns have completely tapered off, and a bit annoyed at Cancelo's because I got him in. So yeah, I think for now that if a premium starts firing, then that'll test that resolve for sure.
Yeah,
and we might see a big sea change, but yeah. Okay, number 2, Josh, you ready?
Yeah.
Number 2, Man United and Ralph Ball. We've had 1 game under the new man now. What did you make of it? Was it the real deal?
I think it's far too soon to say his impact in terms of strategy and tactics. That's not going to bed in for quite a long time. I know he's only got 6 months, but what is evident for me recently, it was straight as soon as Ollie left. So even whilst Carrick was kind of leading like from the front, there was a bounce for sure. Like, the players played with so much more intensity. He didn't really change much in the system. He changed the personnel a little bit, Sanchez getting more minutes. But people like Fred suddenly were playing with so much more intensity and belief in their game that, I think we discussed this as well, they've got a great squad. If they all could just tick up their performances to like from 5 and 6s to kind of 7, 8, 9s week in, week out, then they're going to punish teams. I mean, the result, the Palace result, there wasn't much in it between them, so maybe we could definitely need more time. But I was gonna go to Ronaldo this week, but the doubt with the kind of injury whether he's going to start or not just scared me off him. And I'm still in that same bit. I'm not sure whether to back him or not. So
yeah, he didn't deliver, did he? FPL wise,
no. So that for me, it's just still a lot of uncertainty. I can't say confidently to back anything. But are you happy to jump on that now?
No, I'm not really. Not really. No, I think you're right. I think they were clearly given instruction to press high. I think they won the ball. They won the ball back more times in a half than they hadn't since Sir Alex. I think I saw a stat. So clearly they'd done that, and they've been given that imperative. I mean, I find it amazing. Surely Ole wasn't saying don't press high. It's weird. And surely they haven't learnt enough in a few days about how and when to press that they were suddenly that good at it. It's such a weird thing to me, the coaching thing. What magic words has he said that have made them suddenly play well? It's weird, isn't it? It's
it
odd.
would have been amazing to be a fly on the wall to really see how much of that was Ranić, and how much of that was just their want to play better.
Or more a fly on the wall when Ole was there would have been more interesting, I think, to see how shit he was. But if that carries on, I think we'll see, because Palace aren't bad. Palace are not bad.
Yeah.
And United were a lot better than them, but they still struggled to really penetrate, I think. And Palace did have a couple of chances that Ayew should have scored. But it's a wait and see. Ronaldo, people are getting on Ronaldo now, but I think that's more through lack of other options than Ronaldo's this great asset again. I would have said, and people's frustrations with Kane. So speaking of which, question 3, Josh, Kane owners, they've held on for many bleak, barren, dusty, dry, famine-filled weeks. I'm one of them. Surely it's over now. He didn't get any points against Norwich. Or is there any reason to hold him?
I can't think of any reason to hold him at the moment, because at his price tag, I don't think you can afford to be just waiting around for him to turn this form around. And I was bringing up his stats as you were asking the question. So 5 shots, and I do recall him, trying to get these shots away, but an XG of 0.37. And we talk about,
was that in the game? Sorry, or in the game?
In the game. So this just that one game. So he's obviously still roughly getting in the mix, but no points returned in terms of FPL. He's still blanking. So it's just the almost man in not even all the time. In some games he's the almost man, in others he's just not doing anything at all. So he's not giving us anything, is he? We just can't back him. That's my thoughts on him. But
I'm gonna be contrarian here.
Oh.
Okay. I'm gonna say there's a reason to hold it. There's a couple of reasons to hold him for Brighton for this game. One of them that we've already touched on a couple of times. What are the other options? Unless you've got two transfers to make where you could shift him down and bump up a midfielder in one move, I don't think taking Kane out for a hit to get in a midfielder, say even Son, for -4 against Brighton is a worthwhile move, quite. And 2, the Brighton team they're about to play, I think they're missing 8 of their starters. So they're missing Duncan Duffy, 2 of them, but there's 6 others they're missing. And I just think, watching Kane in the last 2 games, I think he has been a bit unlucky not to get anything. There was one against Norwich where he chipped the keeper. Normally he'd finish that lob, but it went just wide. In the game before that, he squared it to Reguilon, I think it was, who hit the side netting. He played the ball through that assisted the assist of Son's assist. And to my eye test, it looks like he's trying again now. Whereas before Conte, he just looked sulky, didn't he? Just didn't really look like he was given anything. But now I feel like he's given something. And I'm going to hold him for Brighton. That's me, and I don't blame other people if they do.
So it's a hold and fully justified. And I can understand all the points that you said. If you're trying to give advice to someone in my situation where they're
Okay.
got money in the bank, upgrading from Vardy, can afford both Ronaldo and Kane,
Oh,
that's where it gets a bit trickier, I'm guessing.
does yeah. Would I buy him? No.
Mm.
Yeah, good point. I wouldn't buy him, but I wouldn't. People are selling him en masse, and I was annoyed as anyone after that game. But it's that classic thing, you sleep on it and you think, actually, my anger, was it justified at the time? Probably not. He did do all right. So
You're in a
yeah, if I had to
forgiving
pick,
mood. I like it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Kane or Ronaldo, I'd probably go Ronaldo. If it's between those two, I'd pick them. But I wouldn't spend a transfer now, Ronaldo from Kane.
Yeah.
But yeah, in your Vardy situation, well, that's an interesting one. We could talk about that later as well, whether you should move on from Vardy or not if you have him. But we'll talk about that with your plans, Joshy boy.
Okay.
So number 4, I feel like I put this question in every week due to a bias of mine, but Villa win again. And to Stevie G,
Go on, Stevie.
who are the assets we should be looking at from Villa, if there are any?
I really feel like this question should be more pointed to you. So I'm going to say my bit very quickly and
Go.
then get on to the Villa expert, which is you. The two that jump out for me, I mean, Watkins, I've said this before. It looks like he is going to be the guy that posed the most attacking threats from multiple areas, deeper, wide areas, and through the middle as well. So it looks like the games that I've seen, the minutes I'd seen, that he is having more of a free role almost from Stevie. That could have just been the parts that I have seen, and it's a very small sample size, but he looks great. The only other one who's taken my eye is McGinn from a bit deeper. Obviously, can have those shots coming in towards the edge of the box or into the box later in moves, but also maybe showing like decent XA potential as well. Those are the only two from my side, but am I wrong or am I missing anyone potentially?
So you're right, definitely right on Watkins. So I think in the world of where are the strikers, they've all gone. Watkins is a viable asset for sure. He's like the main man up there, and he's playing really well. He had a goal very unluckily disallowed against who did we even play? Leicester, against Leicester, and looked really sharp generally. Scored a good goal against City as well. And yeah, Ings doesn't seem on the scene at the moment. So I think Ollie is a really good shout. I wouldn't go McGinn because he does play too deep. And I think for his price, there are just way too many better options. If I had to go with the midfield, I'd go for Buendia actually now, because he's playing in his preferred position out wide. And he's just way, way better out there than he ever. Like Dean Smith tried to turn him into a 10, really, and arguably lost his job because of it. It's a big reason he lost his job, I think. And yeah, Gerrard has realised just get him out on the wing. That's where he operates, and he's just super silky. So yeah, Buendia and Watkins would be my two that I go for. The others are just more serve a really strong function in a football team, but don't offer that much FPL potential. I mean, Martinez still looks amazing, and Gerrard seems to have found up the defence again. So if you want a premium goalie, you could probably do worse than Martinez, but for his price, I think, and the way you and I play the game, it's get the cheap keepers and go there. And Ramsdale is probably a better one anyway, I would say. So yeah, there's Villa. I mean, we've got Liverpool next, so don't bring anyone in now. But the next 5 fixtures after that are really good, and it's only Chelsea that are in the top half within those fixtures. So see how we do against Liverpool. Probably win 7-2 again, as we tend to do against Liverpool. But nah, it's looking good for Villa fans, and yeah, keep an eye on them. See if Watkins carries on.
Stevie at the helm, loving it.
CVG, yeah, love him, bloody love him. Actually, now I'm fully on board now. Thanks, Steve. 4 games in, can't do no wrong.
Give it to Stevie.
Give it to Stevie. So number 5 is a bit of a factual question, Josh. Actually, so if you don't know the answer, I'm sorry for throwing this at you. But who has the best fixtures until Christmas?
It's tough. So obviously a lot of this I think is a bit subjective as well. Even the kind of fixture difficulty ratio numbers that get thrown out, like some agree, some disagree with them. But the ones that kind of jump out to me between now and kind of Christmas are, City have got a decent run. United have got a decent run. So City have got Wolves, Leeds, Newcastle, Leicester, Brentford.
Yeah.
United, Norwich, Brentford, Brighton, Newcastle, Burnley. That's quite tasty. That's why I'm
very
looking
good,
at.
isn't it?
That's why I'm looking at Ronaldo.
Mm.
And then past them, it gets a bit like it kind of. A lot of them are a bit the same. The only other one for me is Watford have got Brentford, Burnley, Palace, Wolves, West Ham, which I think the fixture difficulties throws that out as not too bad. But actually, when you look at it, Palace and Wolves, in my eyes, aren't particularly easy games. So
no, you got to be careful with the colours, haven't you, on the fixture difficulty? It's very easy to be seduced by the greens, but
exactly
actually,
that.
It's pinch of salt time, big time.
So dare I say it, but it's probably United's. I'd say
not West Ham. Don't fancy a bit of West Ham?
They have got Arsenal, and you're right. I wouldn't call them like the fodder teams, but the teams that have been conceding a lot of goals, like Norwich, Southampton, Watford are in there, and they've got Burnley. Yeah, I'd put them up there as well. I think not too much between them and United then, but United just because they don't have, West Ham have got Arsenal, whereas United have got no one like that in theirs.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd put Chelsea in there as well a little bit, I think. So, I mean, I know Everton, Wolves and Villa are kind of grey fixtures, but Everton should be a green, shouldn't it? No doubt about it at the moment.
At the moment.
They're terrible. And I fancy them against Wolves and probably against us as well. So, and they got Leeds next, which is a green. So, yeah, I think, you're right, though. United are probably the absolute standout. So, it does make a Ronaldo move pretty tempting, actually, thinking about it. So I take back what I said about Kane. Ditch him.
Ditch him now.
Ditch him now. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Cool. That was straightforward. Number 6, Josh. Bit more to talk about here, probably. It's the rise of the value mid recently. So I've got 5 players, and I want you to just rank them in order of who you'd bring in as an FPL asset if you didn't own any of them. So the value mids on, and let me know if I've missed anyone, obviously. But for me, the standout value mids are Bernardo Silva, Mason Mount, Jared Bowen, Rafinha, and Phil Foden. Now, first of all, I haven't counted Jota in there, actually. I probably should have done, but I think everyone kind of has Jota now. So I think these are the ones that people are going to be looking at to bring in and weighing up. So what do you think of these 5?
First of all, I think I agree with the 5 that you picked. A lot of the names that we were mentioning, like 5-10 game weeks, we've shifted off them now. Like the Embuemos, Gallagher's playing a bit deeper until they sort their squad out, so he's off the table again.
Yeah.
ESR maybe, but we've talked about he's overperforming his stats. So again, I agree with these 5. And then
not in the squad today. Not in the squad. ESR, is he?
Yeah, and I think the other ones like the Greys and the SARS we're off them as well. So
for sure.
The only one that I'd maybe say is close but shouldn't be included as this level is Maddison's been all right recently, but I don't think what we've both said he's very streaky. So that's why
he wasn't up to much against Villa the other night. Yeah.
No, but I mean it's a classic. He had 2 good game weeks and he's shown what he can do, but think he's streak over done. So yeah, I agree with the 5. I guess what I'd say is the perspective I'm coming up at it is factoring in their risk of minutes as well. So I'd put Silva first at the moment, Bernardo Silva first. Then it's a kind of very close 3-way split between Mount, Rafinha, and Foden.
You got to order it.
Okay, so I'll go Silva, Mount, Rafinha, Foden, Bowen.
Bowen last. Interesting. And Mount second, was that? Or was that Rafinha second?
Mount second. Mount second, Rafinha third, Foden 4th, Bowen 5th. Foden's just the minutes risk. I know Mount is also minutes risk, but I think a lot of the reasons why he was out earlier in the season was for lots of different reasons. Sickness, then he had was it like a tooth thing, and then
Mount was, yeah.
lots of different reasons. And I think if he is available, he plays because he's that good for them.
He's shown, hasn't he, the last 2 games that he's quality, isn't he? He's delivered basically.
Yeah, he's incredible, and I think if he's fit, he's in that team, and he'll be rotated less than a lot of the other players. Rafinha still does it, and guaranteed minutes, talisman. Bowen, the only reason that I'm off him a little bit is just because of West Ham a little bit. They've come through a tough run of fixtures, so I'll be interested to see how they do now, as you said, with this kind of better
Chelsea
fixture run.
Just beat Chelsea. Mason Mount's Chelsea.
Yeah, great. I mean, good. That's one game.
Great. Good for you.
Yeah. No, I mean, what I'm saying is, you see games sometimes that one team have a great one game bounce. I'd like to see them do it over a little more prolonged period before bringing back in. I've just got off a load of West Ham assets. That's why I'm a little bit bitter. Yeah.
Yeah, they have been weaker the last few. But I think you're downplaying Bowen a bit there. I really like Bowen. And I'm torn between Bowen and Mount myself on who to bring in now.
So what's your ranking?
We mentioned Foden. Yeah, I think I would probably have it as I wrote it out in the question. So Silva, and I'm leaning Bowen over Mount, I think, purely because of the price difference and the slight. I think Mount has slightly more rotation risk than Bowen does with Chelsea. I just think they have just so many options. But I do think generally you're right that Mount is the currently top of the pecking order, like Silva is for City. But with that, I always think, would you be more surprised if Bowen was benched or Mount was benched or Bernardo was benched? And the answer is I'd be most surprised if Bowen was. And then it would probably be Rafinha, then Foden in my order. I do like Rafinha a lot, and I've got him. But Leeds are just a bit crap still for me.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit, pleasantly surprised. I'm still a little bit surprised that he's still getting points.
Rafinha, right?
Still doing it.
When he got that assist, people seem to just go mad when he got that assist, and it's just it's just an assist, guys. We need a bit more here. He's been a bit rubbish lately, and we just need. I don't know. That felt like the euphoria from the assist was overblown. I think because no one else was doing anything, no other players were getting anything. So at least it was something that one of our players got. Yes. And I think it was quite early on in the game, wasn't it? So it was oh, come on, more, and nothing happened. So yeah, Mount and Bowen, that decision is, for me, is tough. But you obviously, it's interesting to hear you put Mount way ahead of him. That's one for me to think about.
It's only because I feel like if I bring Mount in, I'm keeping him for a very, very long time.
But you don't feel like with Bowen?
No, not so much. I don't have the confidence that I feel like I'm bringing him in for his form at this moment in time, and then it will drop off again.
Interesting.
But that's just my, 2 cents.
Yeah, and he actually did get benched a few game weeks ago, Bowen. So he's obviously not fully immune to it all. Yeah, he just is a very good price, I think. Value pound for pound. I like him. But yeah, that's one for me to think about. So
food for thought.
Anyway, yeah, that was question 6. Number 7, Josh, a more general one. So climbing the ranks is starting to get harder and harder as the point gaps widen because there's more people have more points. So there's more points between spaces. So if you're finding yourself languishing in a rank you don't want to be, is it time to start going differential to get ahead? Because now climbing rank is effectively you need more points to do so. What's your view on that?
I think it's difficult because we've mentioned last week, or maybe the week before, that the template, if you want to call it that, or the highly owned players, the number of them that a lot of people are holding on to has dropped. So it felt like there was only a smaller number of template players that were still present in a large number of teams. And so what I'd say about what that means about the differentials is the pool outside of the template has just increased. So like the kind of the ownership is spread over those, those 5 that you've just listed or whatever. So I wouldn't say they're like differentials to the same degree that like Mane is, for example. But what I'm saying is you can shift from the old template players that probably are clogging up a lot of our teams, like the Mbuemes that you only just got rid of. I had Sarr until like
Gallagher's.
Gallagher's. But just look to shift them onto these new guys that are in their purple patch and ride that, and then try and read, when they get off it, because the Silvers and Bowens, that it's my belief that they will come to the end of this and then drop off again. And I guess what you're trying to ask is be aggressive. And my advice would be aggressive at this point, because it's come to the end of some people's purple patch and we're seeing the new ones emerge now.
Yeah, we are actually.
A couple of weeks ago, we were like, I don't know where to move these guys onto. I couldn't tell you who I want to move them onto. And now we're really seeing like, okay, it's these boys now. It's the Silvers, the Mounts, the Bowens, the Rafinhas, potentially like the Ronaldos. But again, we're not seeing enough there. So these midfielders that you listed, those are the guys that I want, and I don't own enough of them, basically.
Yeah, fair, man. Fair. I'd broadly agree, but I'd add that I guess in my head, there's differential on a scale. So there's on the low side end of the scale, it's a differential might be, or pick a goalie that no one has, or I'll have this weird bench player that might come on. And then the other extreme end is I'm going to triple captain Shane Duffy, right? So yeah. So that, and I think the bar on the nuclearometer increases as the season goes on. So the time to go triple captain Shane Duffy is if it's the last game of the season and you're 20 points behind your mini league leader, and the only player you have different to him is Duffy. Then do it. Then play go nuclear. Pre-January, do not go nuclear. Captain Salah still, even if you're in the millions ranks. Captain Salah still. Go differential on, like those players you mentioned, on, say you're choosing between a Bowen and a Mount. Maybe pick the lower owned one, because they're if you're torn on a thing, go differential and pick the lower owned one, because the upside of them is much better. You've still got the template in Salah, Trent, whoever. So you're not going to go completely off the rails, but maybe start now, like you said, being more aggressive with those margin calls. Whereas at the start of the season, you didn't want to be. You want to be as template as you can the first 10 weeks of the season. That's kind of how I view it. So come March, if I'm still in a million, say, and I've just dipped into a million again, I've just seen, which has really annoyed me. Pissed off. 1,007,000 I am now. Really annoyed.
Don't let it get you down. Come on.
No, my back's hurting again now. I hate life. But no, that's kind of the way I see it. Do you kind of, you know what I mean there? Like,
yeah, I know what you're saying. Ramp it up. Now's the time to be a little bit more aggressive at this moment in time, because it feels like the stars have aligned a little bit for you to do so.
Yeah, they definitely, they have. There's an opportunity to do it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes there isn't one.
Yeah.
And you do it anyway. You pick a bloody,
and then you take him out.
Jordan, are you captain for no reason?
Mitchell, because I was going to lose a transfer, bought him in, and then just got him straight out again.
You hate him.
Yeah, nothing moved. But now we actually have a focus with these guys. So
yeah, true, man. Yeah, so it's good question that, Josh, by me, and good answer is what I meant to say rather than compliment me. Jack, great question, Jack. Great work on the question. Final question then. We mentioned it, but where have all the striker options gone? Who are the viable ones, if there are any?
That's a very hard question, Jack, because I cannot with any confidence, and I don't want to give any strikers. The people that we want to recommend are the ones you've mentioned in the last, two questions ago.
Different, more general angle of that question then. Do you think there's a reason why it's happened? Do you think it's like a style of play thing for most teams, or is it just one of those ebbs and flows of the season where just suddenly the strikers are out of form, or do you think there's actually a more concrete reason behind it?
I think it's just one of those things that fate decided this year that those strikers and the premier ones, for all different reasons, aren't going to perform. Kane's unhappy. Lukaku was injured. Ronaldo was playing for a terrible United team for a period of time. Vardy's getting slightly too old in a Leicester team that aren't playing great. Aubameyang just can't finish his dinner. So like they're all different.
Great
They're all
summary.
different reasons, aren't they? And at the moment, we're still sat in the middle of that, looking around, going in a burning house of strikers, saying, "What the hell is going on here?" Waiting for one of them to give us a reason to buy them, and even like the mid prices or whatever's aren't giving us any reason as well. So, I think there's no overarching reason why they're not performing. And I will be looking to jump on some of them soon when one of them gives us a goddamn reason to own them. Check.
Yeah,
What do
I
you
agree,
think? Do you
man.
think there's some kind of like conspiracy theory of?
I think probably if you look like 20 years ago, there'd be way more striker options because people play with the front two a lot more. So now we've got a narrower pool of elite strikers that are good enough to play on their own as a number 9, flanked by 2 wingers or with a false 9 behind them, or that kind of modern play. But the ones we have got, the exact 5 or 6 you mentioned, are elite players who have it in them to come good and to be valuable assets. You know, I'd be amazed if none of Ronaldo, Lukaku, or Kane are vying for the Golden Boot at the end of the season. You know, it would be shocking, really. If I mean, Salah's another level, obviously, but you know, if they're not in the top 3 or 4 scorers, it'll be bizarre. So yeah, I think wait and see on them. Don't just completely throw in the towel when it comes to strikers. And I think there are some still all right options. I think Josh King is a good option. Now, out of the ones we've got, I think Ollie Watkins is a decent option. Probably would apply to Benteke if he was guaranteed the start, which sadly is not. So I think strikers can be found. Callum Wilson's ticking over.
Yeah.
You know, there are still strikers doing things. It's just the big names aren't, and that's getting the headlines, like you say.
Yeah, still barren in striker land, really, generally.
Yeah, but there will be weather. There will be rain. There will be rain soon in the desert.
Soon.
Yeah, very good. All right, those are the 8 questions, Joshua.
Lovely.
Move straight on to key fixtures.
Yeah, you did a great job asking all those questions. So
Thanks, man.
Let me kick some of these to you so we can just, switch it over a little bit.
Yeah.
But the first key fixture that's been highlighted is Norwich at home to Manchester United, Jack. And what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, obviously a key fixture because this is the one where Man U will be definitely expected to win, new manager or not. And this is the one where the philosophy should come into play. Ronaldo should score, etc., etc., etc. Away at Norwich, I think Dean Smith beaten United before. He knows how to play against them. I definitely think United will win, and it will be a real test of United. And if the United assets do go off, if we get a Ronaldo hat trick, then I think it will be the classic Man United effect of an influx of transfers for him, which will just force us to consider him if we don't bring him in this week. And it'll be interesting to see how the likes of Bruno, Rashford, Sancho, how those guys do, because we still haven't really come on our radar as assets yet, and not for a long time, I would say. And that could really, if Bruno, becomes what we all thought he'd be at the start of the season, then that almost tears our teams up, doesn't it? So
cat amongst the Persians, big time.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it'll be one to definitely keep your eye on as an FPL player. Yeah. Anything to add to
that? Yeah, if it wasn't for the Spurs game, I would say that Norwich have proven to be more stubborn and less of a pushover than they have earlier on in the season. But that Spurs game, the XG wasn't. It didn't tell the whole story. Spurs' XG, I'm just looking at it now, 2.01, Norwich 1.07. But Tottenham still did beat them 3-0. So, and United are on the up. It's going to be a really interesting fixture, isn't it? Just to see where United are a little bit and where Norwich are. Can they bounce back? But I still would, on balance of it, when not trying to look at it under a magnifying glass, if I had Ronaldo, I'd be very, very happy going into that fixture.
No doubt. No doubt about it. Oh, got an Odegaard goal. Tierney assist.
Tierney,
Yeah. Richarlison goal disallowed.
ouchie.
Needed that,
Need that
Richarlie.
clean. Thank you.
Needed that, Richarlie Sane.
Good. Is that VAR? Love VAR. Love it.
It probably was, yeah. Yeah. So that's United Norwich. Could be a pacing. I think Norwich's new manager bounce might have come to an end with that Spurs game, but we shall see.
Indeed. Fixture 2, Jack. Liverpool at home to Villa. Dare Stevie beat Liverpool?
Had to add it in. I had to add it in just for us, Josh. Just for it's you against me, your beloved against mine. Yeah, obviously Stevie G going back there. It's big day for him. I think Liverpool will beat us handily, to be honest. I think they're just too good. They're just another level now at the moment. I think it would be 2-1 or 3-1, something like that. But it's still a captain your Salah's. Don't question it. Trust the process type game. And a reason to hold off on getting Villa assets, really, and just seeing how they do. So yeah, I feel like we will score, is what I will say with Gerrard's Villa at the moment. I feel like we're trying things, but I'd be amazed if Liverpool didn't win.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but the bits of Villa I've seen under Stevie so far is they seem to play with the courage to attack the game. And if he takes that approach against Liverpool, I think he's going to be punished for it, just because the form they're in at the moment. Like, I know they only won against Wolves 1-0, but let's be honest, they could have scored a boatload more there.
Yeah.
And the same as you, I don't feel confident that Liverpool can keep them out. So I think that Villa will score. I think there won't be a clean for Liverpool, but I just think Liverpool are just too good going forward at this moment in time. I wouldn't be confident that any team can keep a clean against them. So Liverpool win, and I will back Salah. Sorry, Jack.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. It's win-win for me with these games. If Salah scores, FPL captain, fine.
I back Salah either way.
But it is nice as a fan of, like, you probably don't really know what it's like being a Liverpool fan, but you get these free swing games effectively. You get these, like, Villa are playing Man City, Villa playing Liverpool. We all expect a loss, Stevie G. If you get a win, it's elation. If you get a loss, we forget about it and try and beat the next game. Yeah. It's win-win. It's a nice feeling, really. One of the perks of being supporter of a shit team. So, last one, Josh. What we got?
It's Brighton Spurs, Jack. So I can see why you've picked this, because a Spurs team that are building momentum and a Brighton team which, dare I say, are going a little bit, well, bit mixed recently for Brighton, isn't it? So what are your thoughts? Are you confident in your Spurs assets?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So yeah, I've picked this because it's two teams it feels like going on a bit different trajectories now. Brighton, phenomenal start to the season, but have stuttered lately with a couple of draws. I think they've drawn like 8 out of the last 11 or something crazy like that. It's something weird, some insane draw record. So they're really stubborn and hard to beat, aren't they? But struggle to score. But Spurs seem to be gaining momentum with Conte. We mentioned that 8 players are out, Brighton, and yeah, Spurs are starting to click under the Conte way. Yeah, I think Spurs are going to win this, and yeah, hence why I'm probably going to keep hold of Kane for this fixture. I think if you're a Son owner, then you're licking your lips a bit, actually.
And I'm gutted that Reguilon may not be fit for it. So.
Didn't he tweet himself, "Play me still, guys, I'm all good"?
Well, he said I'll be back in a few days or something. I don't know what that means. So hopefully the conferences will get, what the conclusion is of that. But it's encouraging, isn't it, for sure?
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, I've gutted I sold him. He's the worst seller. I sold him like the day before Nuno got sacked or something. And then since then for Conte, he's been amazing.
Yeah.
But that is what it is. So yeah, definitely hold fire with him until we find out more, if we do, for the press conferences.
Lovely.
Yeah, but fancy Spurs, yeah.
Great. that's all the key fixtures highlighted for this week.
Cool.
Great. So we take another little break and then we'll come back to our transfer plans.
Let's do it.
Lovely. See you in a sec. Back again, Jack. So looking forward now to the next game week,
Mm-hmm.
going to look at our transfer plans and captaincy. What are you thinking? I'll kick it to you first, if you're happy.
You're always kicking it to me first, man.
Apologies. Give me more thinking time.
Always kicked. Yeah, I'm pretty set, Josh, actually, this time. So I got one free transfer. I've been restructuring my midfield over the weeks. So Jota and Bernardo have come in and done me proud. Gallagher is the last one that I want out of there. So he's been playing too deep, bless him. I think he's great when they've got a full squad, when he's in that attacking role. But Vieira's been forced to pin him back a little bit, and he's suffering from it, FPL points-wise. So the Mane sale has given me money. I've got money, and I can either go him to Mount or him to Bowen or him to Foden, but I'm leaning really towards more Bowen and Mount. And as I said earlier, currently it's on the Bowen side of things. But of course, there's European fixtures midweek, so I'm going to wait until those are done. I think West Ham are playing. Don't know for sure, but I think they are. So I'll wait for that. Yeah, and it's a tough one. It's a tricky one, but we've talked about it already, so we don't have to debate it again. But that's where my head's at. What are you thinking for you?
Yeah, I kind of planned this transfer for this week with my transfers from last week. So I brought in obviously Reguilon, and then I downgraded Antonio to King to give me the cash to go Vardy to Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, obviously the blank last week was not, or this week was not really what I was hoping for, but I still think that move is good with their fixtures coming up and with Norwich this week. So that's the most likely move I'm going to make. And yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, man. No, you keep going. I'll ask you after.
The same other potential fires that you were talking about. So the Gallagher's still like searing a hole through my midfield, and to move him on to the exact ones that you said, or maybe move Diaz onto a Chelsea defender just to spread better at the moment, because I don't want to have a double City defense with all those lack of cleans that you pointed out before. So just kind of spread my bits.
Would you start, if you did get the Ronaldo win, would you start King over Gallagher next week?
I mean, Gallagher against Everton is at home. Is decent, but then he said he's playing deeper. So this is me with my mind of thinking of Gallagher, how he has been when he was like getting all those points playing further up, but he just isn't that threat. So I would probably start King over Gallagher, I think.
Brentford's decent fixture for King.
Yeah, Brentford have just looked a little bit, they've looked up and down.
Yeah.
At home they do look better, so that would be the only reason why I'd pause.
Tricky.
But I don't think there's much between it, if I'm completely honest. I'm leaning King, but there's nothing in it.
Yeah, tricky. See how you feel on the day with that one, I think.
Yeah, and I don't think we know anything about Tony as well. I've got Tony, obviously.
COVID Tony.
So I don't know if he's going to be back by, game week 16.
Yeah, again, you'll have to just wait and see. If it's a 10-day thing and we don't know when he got diagnosed, do we? So
no, exactly.
Yeah, wait on that one. On the Ronaldo one, though, quickly, if he starts Champions League midweek, is there not a tiny worry that there may be a bit of Christmas rotation? Like we talked about last week with Vardy and Ronaldo, the rotation potential. Any worry?
There is a worry there. What I'd say is I think that's been factored into my decision to get him, and
it's priced in.
Priced in. Cheers. I know that he's going to be missing some minutes, but I just feel confident that even if he doesn't start, he'll still be brought on at some point, because I think he's just one of those players that likes to be played, doesn't just like to be left on the bench. And Ranić himself said he's the fittest 36-year-old he's seen. I think he's kind of just pandering to his ego a little bit there, but if you can read into that a bit too much if you want, but don't think he's going to be cutting his minutes left, right, and centre.
Fair. Yeah, I can see where you think that. Yeah. It's tempting. I've got Kane. That move is tempting, but I think I'll keep Kane and give Gallagher in it and get Gallagher the fuck out of there.
One more week.
One more week,
if he
Harry.
doesn't do it this week.
He's gone. One more. Ooh, that's the thing. That's such a dangerous thing, isn't it? And I'm already in it. I've been in that for 6 weeks, and I'm just doing it again.
It's called Antonio syndrome.
Yeah.
One more week. Give him
It's
one more
happened.
week.
It's happened to me.
Jeez.
God damn. Right, we're coming to the end, Josh. I'll give you a super quick update of how the algo teams have got on.
Let's go.
What I'm going to do is give a more in-depth update on the algo teams each week over on TikTok, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, kids, if you're listening, follow AFPL on TikTok, especially if you care about algorithms. Algorithms and younger people, Josh, they go hand in hand.
Exactly.
Sounded a bit creepy. So the algo teams, let's just get them up. So obviously we're midweek, we're mid-game. Arsenal are winning now, but the algo teams have not done well, Josh. They've had a poor time of it. They've had a bad time. So the XG 11, we had to get Antonio out. The stats told us to, and the stats also told us to bring Timu Pukki in. But the stats lied to us. Pukki got 1 point, Antonio got 5, so rubbish. Aubameyang's also in and isn't playing yet, so he's on 0. Manquillo comes in for Ben Mee, who didn't play, 5 points, thanks a lot.
Delightful.
But we captain Jota, because as we saw, he's got the higher XG for 6 points in total. Salah is in the team, but he got 6. So it would have been 12, and everyone else blanked, so rubbish for the XG 11. And the XG 11 now sits on 2.5 mil, so not having the best time at all. Differential United. So the transfer made there was Saint Maximan went out. We'd had enough of him. And Morpay came in and he got a goal. So a good transfer for the differential 11. Some success. So 36 points, about par for the week, I think, in this low scoring week. So Meslier Mitchell doing nothing, Semedo doing nothing, Mahrez doing nothing, 22-minute appearance, Mane captaincy blank. But we did have Bowen for 11 points. We had Morpay with the 9, Sancho and Jimenez doing nothing, and Aubameyang blank. So that's differential 11 on 700 points exactly, pending an Aubameyang coming in, sitting at 4.9 mil. So not doing well. And you and I are beating the algorithms, Josh, handily at the moment.
That's good to hear. But I know how they feel this week, so
poor
my heart goes out to them.
Poor guys. So that is that, Josh. Any more?
We're wrapped up. That's it. Just the classic, like and subscribe, email us, another FPL podcast at gmail.com. Comment. We love a good comment, and we will reply.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at FPL Tools. Josh, you're on Twitter, aren't you, as well, I believe? At Josh, another AFPL. Is that right?
There's the one.
There it is. Tweet at us, follow us. We'll follow you if you're any good. Yeah, great.
And that's it. Great. And we'll see you. We'll come back after Gameweek 16, see how that all panned out. And speak to you in a week.
Cool. Cheers for listening.
Cheers. Right. Cheers, Jack. Take care.